Picture this, it's 1933. You're walking through what was once Ukraine's fertile farmland, yet you see nothing but skeletal figures stumbling through empty fields. Children with hollow eyes beg for scraps that don't exist. This isn't a natural disaster, this is deliberate. This is the Holodomor. The Famine Stalin tried to erase from history forever. What if I told you that one of history's most devastating genocides happened in plain sight, yet the world remained silent for decades? Today, we're uncovering the truth about how Stalin weaponized hunger to crush the Ukrainian spirit. But first, hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss what comes next in this shocking revelation. The year was 1932. Joseph Stalin had a problem. Ukraine, the breadbasket of Europe, was resisting his collectivization policies. Ukrainian farmers, or kulaks, refused to give up their land and join state-controlled collective farms. Stalin's solution: turn their greatest strength, their ability to grow food, into their greatest weakness. Imagine being forced to hand over every grain of wheat you've grown, every potato you've harvested, every piece of bread you've baked. Now imagine armed guards ensuring you have nothing left to eat. This was Stalin's diabolic plan. Create an artificial famine so devastating that it would break Ukrainian resistance once and for all. By early 1933, the horror had begun. Soviet authorities confiscated all food supplies. They sealed Ukraine's borders, trapping millions inside a death zone. Train stations were guarded. Anyone trying to flee was shot. The message was clear: submit to Soviet rule or starve. But Stalin underestimated the Ukrainian people's will to survive and remember. The scenes that unfolded were beyond imagination. Mothers watched their children waste away, powerless to help. Entire villages became ghost towns. People ate bark, grass, and anything remotely digestible. Some resorted to unthinkable acts just to survive another day. Yet Western journalists were banned, and those few who witnessed it were silenced. Walter Duranty, the New York Times correspondent in Moscow, actively helped Stalin cover up the genocide. While millions died, he wrote articles denying the famine existed. He even won a Pulitzer Prize for his lies. Meanwhile, brave individuals like Gareth Jones, a Welsh journalist, risked everything to expose the truth to the world. Jones smuggled out horrifying accounts of the famine. He wrote, "I walked through villages where no dogs barked, no cats mewed, and no children played." His reports were largely ignored by Western governments more interested in maintaining diplomatic relations. With the Soviet Union, the world chose willful blindness over inconvenient truth. But here's what Stalin didn't anticipate: the human spirit's incredible capacity to preserve memory. Survivors passed down stories through whispered conversations, hidden diaries, and songs sung in secret. Grandmothers told grandchildren about the year when the earth itself seemed to weep. These testimonies would later become crucial evidence. As the famine raged, something remarkable happened. Ukrainian communities that had survived began documenting everything. They remembered names, dates, locations. They preserved photographs, letters, and testimonies. Even under Soviet oppression, they refused to let their people's suffering be forgotten. This would prove to be Stalin's greatest miscalculation. The death toll was staggering. Conservative estimates suggest 3.5 million Ukrainians died, though some historians believe the number reached 7 million. Entire bloodlines were wiped out. Villages that had existed for centuries simply vanished. Yet for decades, the Soviet Union maintained the official lie that no famine had ever occurred. But truth has a way of surfacing. When Ukraine finally gained independence in 1991, the floodgates opened. Archives were unsealed. Survivors, now elderly, finally felt safe to speak. Mass graves were discovered. The world began to understand the magnitude of what had happened. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. In 2006, Ukraine's parliament officially recognized the Holodomor as genocide. Multiple countries followed suit. Memorials were built. November became a month of remembrance. The victims finally had their voices heard. Stalin's attempt to bury this tragedy had failed completely. The truth he tried to hide had awakened millions around the world. Today, as we face new challenges to truth and historical memory, the lesson of the Holodomor resonates more powerfully than ever. It reminds us that silence enables evil, that willful ignorance becomes complicity, and that ordinary people have extraordinary power to preserve truth against the most determined efforts to destroy it. The Ukrainian people's determination to remember their tragedy teaches us something profound. Memory itself becomes resistance. Every story preserved, every testimony shared, every memorial built is a victory against those who would erase inconvenient truths. Stalin failed because he underestimated the power of human memory and dignity. This story doesn't end in the past. It continues today every time someone refuses to let historical truth be buried. It lives on in every person who chooses to listen to survivors, to learn from history, and to speak up against injustice. The Holodomor victims didn't die in vain, they awakened the world to the dangers of unchecked power. If this story moved you, if it opened your eyes to a tragedy you'd never heard of before, then you understand why we must keep sharing these histories. Subscribe to our channel for more untold stories that powerful people don't want you to know. Hit that notification bell so you never miss these crucial historical revelations. The legacy of the Holodomor is clear. Truth may be buried, but it cannot be destroyed. Voices may be silenced, but they cannot be forgotten. The Ukrainian people proved that even the most ruthless dictator cannot erase the human spirit's determination to remember, to honor the dead, and to ensure that such horrors never happen again. As we conclude this journey into one of history's darkest chapters, remember this: the power to preserve truth lies not just with historians or governments, but with each of us. Every time we share these stories, every time we refuse to let them be forgotten, we honor those who suffered and ensure their sacrifice helps protect future generations. Don't let this story end here. Subscribe now and join millions who are committed to preserving historical truth. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this story. Together, we can ensure that the voices of the Holodomor victims continue to awaken the world to the importance of remembering our shared human history. Tell us which country or city you're watching from. See you in the next video.